Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
All right, so let's give Jeannie a warm welcome.
Hi, troops. My name is Jeannie Johnson Theodore, and I'm a very grateful alcoholic. Well, I see the remnants of a jolly holiday season. We all come dragging in, burned out, and tired. But oh, thank God we're all here. Thank God we're all here. And I'm glad to see you as healthy as you are, because this is the time of the season that our membership swells. Right around the holidays for the pikers, and then July for those of us that hung on a little longer. And we all need to be here to welcome the new man, the new woman, and the retreads. And I was just totally thrilled to death with my baby Ronnie's talk. I thought he did a beautiful job. Only one thing wrong with it. He stole a lot of his sponsor's material she was going to use tonight. So I told him, well, under the circumstances, I might just do a fast half hour of how sick Ronnie is. The only thing wrong with that is he'd love it. He'd love it. I got about a half an hour, because I believe in meetings stopping on time, no matter what the secretary says. I don't dare play around with these rules because, you see, I'm power mad. I'm driven. I'm an alcoholic. And if I get into my tacky little story, which may or may not regale you, we'll get lost someplace over in Europe where I'm jumping off the top of the Castellana Hilton because I didn't get my way. And so I'm going to commit suicide. Or I'm going back into the jungles of South America where no white woman ever went, to live with a Catholic priest to see if he was closer to God. And it wasn't as spicy as it may sound. Guess what I found back there? Why was he back there? Another one of us. Oh, God, we find our own. Oh, we find our own. So I'm going to talk a little bit tonight about my disease as I know it. I always am in awe of the new people that stand up and identify themselves not only by their first name, and possibly it's correct instead of a, an alias. I used to call in all the time, under aliases. Call in, I wouldn't come in, but I'd call in. And I'm always proud of them and when they can identify their disease. This shows that we've come a long ways in the length of time I've been in an AA. The stigma that was attached to it is no longer present here in Los Angeles and the West Coast. It is in other areas of the nation. There's no doubt about it. You do not find the brand of AA elsewhere that we do have here, where it's so open and our lives are intermingled past the meetings, where we are close friends, dear friends. But we're very lucky here. I don't know whether I'd have gotten sober anyplace else. Of course, there's no good of writing in the book of what if and if only. My disease is called alcoholism. It has been 16½ years since I have ingested anything chemical that is derogatory to my system or my head. That is solid, liquid, smoke, anything you want to name. I don't rub, insert, sniff, shove, push, pull, any way I could get it in or on. And we find ways. I even ran into a little lady, an elderly lady that was hooked on suppositories, and now that's one hell of a way to get out of it. I also have been here long enough to have buried someone who OD'd on aspirin. So you see, we're kind of kinky people. And being 60.5 years removed from my last drink and my last whatever, you would think that I would no longer come to meetings. I've got the hang of it. I can read English, I can read the book, I can subscribe to the grapevine. You can phone in your complaints, and you do. But I have to come because, you see, for the rest of my life, I am no longer involved in the alcohol, but I am involved in the ism, the part of my disease that was mine by choice. I didn't go into the overeating, I didn't go into over-gambling, I didn't go into, well, I better be careful of the sex part. There were other ways of taking out my insanity, and I am insane. But God will restore us to sanity, our book tells us. Our steps tell us that. And my ism is what I have to contend with now, because I am not a practicing alcoholic. Like I said, in our group, that includes everything. Everything. There is the physical aspect of the disease. In AA, we tell the new people that this is a physical allergy or sensitivity of the body, if you will, coupled with an obsession of the mind. And we in AA believe there is also a spiritual depletion or lack of spiritual life. The allergy, I can get anybody sober. I can lock them in my stall shower. They'll get sober. But now, how do we keep us from the mental obsession where we are driven over and over and over again to run across the street hoping we're going to get killed by an automobile? You see, my disease is different than other people's. I go to the doctor and he tells me, Jeannie, I have just diagnosed you. I've just gotten back this blood sugar tolerance test, and unfortunately, dear, you are in the throes of the late stages of diabetes. You can no longer ingest sugar. And I'll guarantee you, I'll run home and I'll scream at my husband and say, throw out all the sugar. I can't eat sugar anymore. It's going to kill me. And I might water a little bit as I went by a chocolate eclair filled with custard. But I'm not going to take it because I have no mental obsession about it. Like I said, I'm not obsessive either. But you let the doctor tell me you are in the third stages and the last and final stages of a progressive and fatal disease. And as I leave his office, knowing full well that for me to ingest 1 more ounce of booze, it might kill me, I will stop off in the lobby of the hotel, in the pharmacy, and pick up a bottle of hooch to sit out in the car and think it through on. This is my obsession. This is why, once you have been given the gift of sobriety, how important it is to hang on for dear life, in spite of anyone else or anything in your life. This is a very vicious disease. Like I said, it's progressive and it's fatal. It also has its humorous sides. Those are the statistics that for me to ingest alcohol, I do not metabolize it at the same rate of speed of Joe Blow out here on the streets. He can get rid of his in an hour. Mine accumulates. Same thing with pills. I take a pill 2 weeks ago, and I take one each day. I don't just have 20 pills in my system, or 14 pills, whatever number it is. I do not metabolize them. I do not get rid of them. On a given day, I break out in insanity because I have the effect of 14 pills in my system. Now, these are hard, cold facts, and it's the same thing with booze. This is why our tolerance tests when the police pick us up are so gigantic. It would kill anybody else. But we don't die easily because most of us would have traded death easily. Maybe some of you are here tonight are not in the desperation throes that I was, or some of the people that I know and work with. But I would have traded death any day of the week. Any day. But you see, as an alcoholic, I cannot even successfully die. We don't even do a good job of that. I have a disease that includes lack of self-love, and yet I am the most selfish human being on the face of the earth. My book tells me I am self-centered, self-obsessed, and selfish beyond doubt. I have never been able to eradicate that selfishness. We do not know why some people grow up this way and others don't. It is not our parents' fault. I can no longer blame my parents. I can no longer blame my husbands, my lovers, society, or anything else. I am the cause of my disease. I drink because I have to drink. And I have to get that obsession started by not working this program, by not attending meetings. You see, AA will keep the mental obsession from becoming evident. The first drink always is mental. Always. The second, physical. The second, physical. People come to me and have been served an accidental drink out at a party, and I ask them, did you finish the drink? And they said, oh God, no. I said, well, then be of good cheer. You have not had a slip, as they call it. I don't like the word slip. I have never slipped into a drink in my life. I have drank it. And usually I planned it. But my disease has other sides of it that I like to describe to people, because how you can identify yourself as an alcoholic without knowing some of the symptoms. I came here and I had not been in jail. I had not been hospitalized. I had done some other tacky things, but they weren't as dramatic, you know. They sounded awful low in my inventories. But I do things like, I was living alone. There was no one within miles of me. No one would have anything more to do with me. I had become so obnoxious and such a split personality that no one wanted to have anything to do with me. I had no one. The delivery man made their deliveries. I had 3 liquor stores going. I got the delivery in the morning, and I would take the bottle, because you see, when they suggested I buy it by a case, I was insulted. But the 3 of them brought the bottles every day. And I would take this bottle and I would divide it up into all the obvious places to me but unobvious to you. Therefore, you could not find it if you came around. I would put it in my perfume bottles, and I would put it in my astringent bottles, and I would put it in something that was absolutely right in front of you, but you would never guess where it was. That's the way my mind works, out to get me all the time, as Bobby Earl says. And the interesting thing about this, and what little was left in the quart after I had gotten it spread around throughout the house, I would then roll up in a Turkish towel and put in the linen drawer, because I was in terror of the bottle rolling and making a tinkle sound. And yet I had been living alone for quite some time. This is known as paranoia. This is known as paranoia. If we are truly reading our books, and oh God, I encourage it. I can always tell when somebody's reading it, and I can always tell when they're not reading it. And it's the greatest source. All you're getting here tonight is my opinion and the results that I have taken in from reading the book. Read it for yourself and draw your own conclusions. All of our books. Ronnie mentioned a fine one tonight that I usually pitch about. I may still. My disease comes in many ugly shapes and forms. I get a call from somebody from Camarillo, Norwalk, this dead voice on the end of the line. They said, well, your number's been given to me. I don't think you can help me, but they told me to call. And I'll say, well, dear, what's your prognosis? And they will say to me, I am schizophrenic, paranoid, manic depressive, and start to tell me some more, and I'll say, get on the bus and come over immediately. You're one of us. Now, the alcoholic is so goddamn arrogant and so sensitive, they can't tell us that in those terms in the book. But if you're reading your book, you're going to hear it. It talks about us being the dual personality, the Jekyll Hyde. You think that's normal living? That's your schizophrenia. Nor does it say there that it's only whilst drinking it at a party we pull this. We go back and forth between this in our normal state, you see. My husband has a saying, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not really after you. By the time we get here, baby, you better believe they're after us. Everybody. Because if we don't shape up, we're the most obnoxious people on the face of the earth. We're the scourge of the earth, according to the Bible. And then they talk about the manic depressive. Ronnie enjoys that one. No, I mean it. It's one of our symptoms of our disease. Some of us come in with something else a little more evident, or we'll have the mix mash. And it talks about that in our book. If you're reading the book, you will find that also. Because it talks about the gigantic emotional, the 3 emotions that the alcoholic knows, from A to C. You know, I thought I was highly dramatic. I thought I was a fine actress. I thought I had all kinds of deep feelings. Oh, God, with this total selfishness that I had exactly what the book says. And if any of you have swung a bucket of water and the momentum gotten to going, or a golf head, or even a broom, or a mop, you know the momentum that gets to going. And those are the 3 emotions that I came to you equipped with. And unless I develop otherwise here, they're the 3 I will die with. And over here on this end of the swing is this marvelous thing that we all just love, exhilaration. Not peace of mind, serenity, but exhilaration. And then it comes down here and it swings up on the other side so far we can't reach it, and there's not a rope long enough in town to get to me. And it's called depression. Now then, you'd drink 2 if you were living in the 3rd one all day long, wondering which way you were going to be all day. And that one's called anxiety. Now, we talk about fear in the program. Oh, I love to run around and tell you I'm afraid. No, I am not afraid. Fear is a God-given, nature-devised method of self-preservation. That's what fear is. But what I suffer from is anxiety. And anxiety is not a feeling. Fear is a feeling. Anxiety is an emotion. And an emotion is thought added to, sick thought and imagination added to a feeling. As an example, on the side street back here behind us, it's a residential street. I'm getting ready to cross it tonight to go get in my parked car. Hurtling out of control is a 30-ton diesel on a residential street. The driver's lost his brakes. He's hurtling down toward me. I do not have time to think. Automatically, I have an instant feeling, a self-preservation feeling of fear. And this fear automatically sets me alert, and without thought, I leap backwards out of the way where I am saved from this truck killing. Now, laying there on the grass, usually with my glasses broken and maybe my nice fingernails, one of them broken, my phony fingernails I have put on, it cost so much money, and my white slacks that I just gotten pressed and they've got grass stains on them, and all these kind of things going on. I now add thought to the feeling, and I come up with a sick emotion called anxiety. And I'm laying there thinking, my God, he could have killed me. Now the truck's gone by. As Clancy said, we're still shaking our fist at the steamroller when we're already flattened, you know. And so every day I have always lived in a state of constant flux as to which way I was going to jump. Was I going to be in this terrible depression or in the exhilaration? Now another thing that's interesting about me as an alcoholic is that I suffer from this thing that Ronnie mentioned. I suffer from ambivalence. And ambivalence is feeling the opposite ends of one emotion. All human beings do. All human animals do. But as an alcoholic, I feel them both at the same time. And this creates a conflict inside of me. Exhilaration and depression. Anger and love. Hatred and love. All these things mixed up inside of me. And this leads us right back to Jekyll and Hyde. I am two people. I came to you and one person was much larger than the other one. And you hooked your finger inside of the little one that was the adult there, and you kept pulling on her and loving her and expanding her and bringing her out, and I had to grow up little by little, year by year, month by month, week by week, day by day, and minute by minute. Until pretty soon I am integrated most of the time. I am integrated any time I wish to be, as long as I am allied with my higher power. Because you see, Margaret no longer is the majority. Jeannie and God are. Because I have a higher power, and that makes me the majority, or rather him. And to the degree that I listen to my higher power and practice my 12 steps every day and do as the St. Francis prayer says, I sat up late last night and I watched an old movie that I'd never heard about before called Francis of Assisi, and it was quite thrilling because many of our statements come from this man. Chuck quotes him quite often. And because of doing these things, I can live a comfortable, oftentimes tremendously joyous, most of the time peaceful, serene, expectant life. I have, Nick told you when he got his cake, we not only have our needs, but oh my goodness, we have so many diverse wants that have been filled, things that our income do not warrant, but we have these things. We have them because this program has given them to us. We do not advertise fringe benefits. We ask you to come here only for your sobriety and only for yourself. I know as long as I came to get anybody off my back, it wouldn't work. Could I have somebody watch? I can't see that one back there. Okay, thank you. I found out something else recently. Well, it hasn't been too recently. It feels like recently, about 3 months ago. Thank you, darling. Grandma's eyes aren't too good anymore. Oh, my God, that's worse. We'll rub it. We have a step that talks about removing, we have 2 steps, removing our character defects and our shortcomings. Now, it's my understanding that I will probably be working on this the rest of my life, because just as I get rid of 3, 2 more pop up, and sometimes 5 more instead of the 2. I don't know what your experience has been. We have a few people lined up for sainthood, but mine is not that occasion. I had thought that as I continued to work and humbly became ready, willing, and then became humble enough, teachable enough that I was willing to ask God to remove them. And as he did, I thought that meant they were gone forever. I hate to break the news to you kids, but it's been my experience that he has removed them, yes, but they're out there on the porch. And I have found that in my case, they are just as fatally progressive as my disease is, the disease of alcoholism, because the minute I get separated from my higher power, they jump right back in that vacant hole that's in there. And then here I have to contend with them again. I have been harping a lot lately with all my babies about this innate, terrible selfishness that we all experience. We do the actions. I've had several of them argue with me, oh no, you're the most loving, unselfish person, and I think, oh good God, if they only knew me. I have been working 16 and a half years to counteract this negative, odious character trait I have that is the essence of my very disease, selfishness, self-centeredness, and self-obsession. And I got to share with you the kind of things that come to me. I have a baby, and he and his wife travel quite often. And this has not been more than 3 years ago, and I am very busy trying to give not only materially but of myself to all of the people I work with and to those whose lives cross mine. And I try to do the same thing in my own home. And this couple have always brought me on their returns from the various countries that they have traveled to beautiful gifts. And about 3 years ago, they returned in July, just before my birthday, from a trip to the Orient, and they brought me something lovely back. And then the wife, who is non-alcoholic, said to me, Jeannie dear, we hope you'll accept this also as your birthday gift. And out of the mouth of this woman came, is that all I'm going to get? 3 years ago makes 13 and a half years sober, working on selfishness and greed and avarice. And that thing is still in there, and I would have died rather than have this non-alcoholic woman see the true essence of Jeannie. And I apologized, of course, because I had stood there naked before her. And I was humiliated. Oh, God, I was humiliated. It sounds like a simple little thing, but to me it wasn't. It was the very exposure of my nakedness, of my true being. And so I went home and I called both she and her husband, my baby, and I apologized again. But you see, it did not change anything, because I'm still truly that way. And so I wrote a letter, because I find that writing helps. And finally, this kind of thing stopped. This is the kind of thing that happened to me with lying. Lying, I can almost tell you the day that I stopped lying on this program. And I would like to tell you it was in the first year. It was not. It was about the third year, third or fourth. And I had wanted to overcome this thing, and I had given up the kind of lies you could all catch me at. These were the obvious things that you wouldn't have let me in the door anyway if I continued to do, because you could all see through the facade that was Jeannie. And someone was over at my house, a baby who had traveled from out of town, and he had a very dear friend on the program who was an old-timer who's now deceased, who had started our Beverly Hills meeting. And this man had wanted him to come and talk to him that day, but he didn't want to. He wanted to come to my house. And he was sitting in front of me, and the man called to ask if I had seen this gentleman. You know, if I'd heard from him. It was important how it's worded, because this is the kind of lying I would do. Heard from him. And he was waving his hands no. He wanted to stay with us. And so I carried the ball, and I said, no, I have not heard from him. No, I hadn't heard from him. He was sitting there in my apartment. And when I hung up, I had a gut ache. And an ache here in the what do you call these things?
Larynx.
Well, no, not your larynx. Glands, yes, glands. It was unbelievable, because I have actual physical reactions to the things I do. I lie knowingly now, and my insides churn. I also find that this is the way that God communicates with me. And I don't have to be doing anything wrong either. He will wake me up in the middle of the night with a gut ache, or call me, and I will hear it and wake up. And I will know that I have to take another path. Nick and I experienced this not too many years ago. He wanted a better job, and it looked through someone on the program that there was going to be a better job. And so he resigned his job, and we were very happy about this. And for 2 nights in a row, I couldn't sleep with the pain that was going on in my entrails. I can't tell you where it's located, but it's all down in here, and if you're an alcoholic, you know what I mean. And it goes up and down your spine, and again, it's back in under here in the glands. It wasn't in my head, it was down in here someplace. No wonder they can't operate on us and find it. Sick emotions, where are you going to locate them? You know. And I finally had to tell Nick, you will have to rescind your resignation. We cannot accept this business offer. And he was very unhappy, because he thought maybe I had fear. I said, no, it's not fear. I know that God is telling us, no, you cannot do it. You cannot do it. And so with a lot of humiliation, he had to go back and explained to his present employer that he was not going off on this marvelous job. 2 weeks later, the man that we were going to be casting our lot with got drunk, lost the business, his wife divorced him, took all the money, and he has never gotten back to the program. This is from that same feeling, this communication. And we cannot get these communications from our higher power unless we are totally clean and sober. Totally, bodily, and mentally free from all chemicals. It seems that the spiritual thing that will begin to infiltrate, and we talk about voices. I don't mean there was a voice, but boy, it sure sounds like it. You know, I'm not stupid, but it sounds like it. It feels like it on the inside, like you are actually being talked to. I have had so many of these type of experiences in AA that it's unbelievable. I'm into a point of my AA. I'm into another form of acceptance, another type of surrender. We were talking at dinner tonight about the progress of the recovery disease. You see, we get sick in a certain way. There are steps that we go through, the different stages of our illness. There are charts marking our illness on the way down to insanity and death. But there's also a chart on recovery. And there is no way I can change these facts. At 3 months, you cannot feel the same as you're going to feel at a year and a half. And at a year and a half, you cannot possibly feel like you can when you've just turned 6. And at 6, there's no way you can understand what it's like to be 16 and a half. It's all periods of growth. But if you're on the path and you're going right along where you should be of good cheer. Your sponsor knows. Your sponsor knows. They have been ahead of you. Johnny Harris told me one time when he was over at the house, he said, "God, Jean, isn't it awful about the bear?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "You know, our babies come to us and we tell them which path. As they get to the crossroad, there's a bear down. And that's the one they want to go down. And we say, 'No, dear, go the other path. We know that that way is smooth and it's going to be good for you.' And they say, 'Oh, no, but I want to go down that one. Why can't I go down the other path?' And we say, 'Because there's a big black bear down there.' And he says, 'Isn't it awful that we have to have the bear marks to show them?' And those of us that are working with you and trying to help you, we have the bear marks. We are all the same. I have had to try every god darn thing in the world. That's been my benefit in AA. Half of West LA got sober on me because I was such a bad example. I was laying over there on Wooster Street dying, with the most terrible arrogance and snobbery and absolute total self-will, running my life right into the pits. I was already in the pits, and I was still trying to run it while I was thrashing around on the floor. And everybody on the west side would send their poor babies over to 12-step me, and the babies would go home and stay well. They'd get well and stay sober. You know, comparison, if anything. I have been an example in AA all the time of how not to work this program. There isn't anything devised by your little human mind that I haven't thought of and tried. I can tell you none of them work, or I wouldn't still be standing here. If there was another way out, I would give it to you. My God, would mimeograph it and have a mail order business all over the world. This is it. I tried every religion. I tried every psychiatrist. Oh, God, the psychiatrists. You know, think what we could do with that money now. You know. I have tried men. I have tried jobs. I have tried travel. I have tried careers. I tried more men. I have tried women. I have tried everything. I'm not proud of it, and I'm not ashamed of it, but if you're an alcoholic like me, you're going to try everything. I've always done that. So my advantage to all of you is that I was a loser in AA. I came to you 3 times, and 3 times I refused to follow directions. Now we talk about Dr. Tebow. Ronnie mentioned him tonight, and he happens to be my idol. I love his writings. And in the appendices in that same book that Ronnie mentioned to you, AA Comes of Age, they talk about the character structure of the alcoholic, and they're talking about me. And you go home tonight, if you've been bored with your big book, and you take out a lead pencil, and you remove the word alcoholic, or the alcoholic, or Mr. So-and-so, or our friend in all the experiences, and put in your name. And immediately the book comes to life. Immediately. Jeannie's gonna die. Sounds a lot different than the alcoholic's gonna die. You know? Jeannie is total self-will run riot, not your self-will run riot. And underline everything that makes you go, because you know it's something that you don't want to look at, or that you're beginning to identify with. And then write out on the page, the side of the page, write down what it says: fear, anxiety, whatever the thing is. How are we going to experience these new emotions, or these new feelings, I should say, that we're going to start having in AA when we've never had them before, unless we have some guidelines to know what it's going to feel like? How am I going to know when I have truly learned to love you people? I know that I am learning to love Jeannie, and that's mandatory. It says that it's absolutely mandatory that I must learn to love myself first before I can, in any way, shape, or form, be honest in my love for you. I have worked on this very much because that's the one thing that I wanted before I died. The very one secret thing that I wanted. I wanted to know how to love. I've never known how. I've known the drama of the bedroom, of the motel, of the flea joints, of the castles. I have known the drama of the courtrooms. I have known the hysterics in the police station. I've known all of these things. I've known everything there is to know about sex, but nothing about love. And I wanted to learn to love before I died. And I felt like if I kept working this program, maybe I would. And I know that I truly have learned to care about a great deal of you. Matter of fact, all of you, even the ones I don't know yet. But those of you who are in my life, I care a great deal more about. I've really known that I don't know for sure that I know how to really love yet. And as an example, I usually use to the group when they're busy over there talking about love. You know, when am I going to get mine? And I'll say, take him, you know, try mine. You know, you won't like it on a 24-hour basis. I don't really mean it, but you know what I'm saying. It's not as easy as you think, kids. It's the last thing that we usually end up with is in relationships. First is our work and things like that, but first, of course, is sobriety. But this thing about love, and I've usually said to them, all right, let's see how true this thing that you feel is, this thing of love. Let's see how we really learn how to love. Let's say that at this precise moment there is a natural catastrophe going on in this room, and only 3 of us can get out. Which 3 do you think, only one of us can get out. Which one do you think it's going to be? Think about it right now. Now there's the possibility that maybe someone like me might stand back and let you get out, but that's only if there's a TV camera rolling. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I don't want to run overtime. I'm just about due to close, and God, I'm just getting warmed up. Well, I wanted to tell you that I'm going to change my attitude, because I have been chewed out by some people that I love and respect on this program who have in excess of 10 years of sobriety. They happen to be babies and baby-in-laws of mine. And recently it has been pointed out to me that maybe my concept of love has been like everything else that the alcoholic has. That my chart has been too extreme. You see, I have an emotional chart inside of me. If I don't hit 100%, I drop immediately to 0. I don't have 93, 86, 72, 54. I got 100% or nothing. And they pointed out to me that maybe I didn't recognize love when it was sitting in my lap. Maybe I really do know how to love, and I just hadn't been giving God credit for it. And so tonight my Christmas gift is to you that I love every one of you, and I don't want to add to the best of my ability. I just want to tell you, I love you all. Please stay with us. Please stay alive. Please become happy with us. Thank you.